Hey everyone, it's Michael, and today I have a review for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about Goosebumps Series 2000, number 19, Return to Ghost Camp. And as you know, I just recently reviewed the first book. By the way, the sun is really bright and it's reflecting off my car's window and it's hitting me right in the face, so that's what those lines are. I swear they're not like some white tattoo or anything. Anyway, Return to Ghost Camp. This was so disappointing in like every way possible. Now, the first book, if you haven't seen my review, you can go check that out, but honestly, the first book was amazing. It's easily one of the best of the original classic era of Goosebumps, the original 62 books. This was such a good first book, and it didn't need a sequel. I don't really know what you could have done to have had a sequel, and neither does R.L. Stine when he wrote this book. That's a joke. Calm down. You did not need Return to Ghost Camp. It's literally a cash grab on a good book's name. But honestly, Ghost Camp is so underrated, and no one ever talks about it except for me and a guy named Ryan in the comments in my comment sections. We're like the only people that love the first book. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything good about the first book, much less mention it to me. I kind of went into that not expecting it to be as good as it was, and I absolutely love that first book. Return to Ghost Camp, it doesn't need to exist, first and foremost. But number two, if it does exist, it doesn't need to be a Ghost Camp book, because it just doesn't need to be. There's a phone ringing in the other room. I'm sorry about that, in case you guys can hear that. I assume you can hear that, because it's so high-pitched and so loud. By the way, I'm feeling a little bit better. My throat's not hurting as bad. And I'm not coughing as much, so hopefully that won't ruin the review this time. And I bit my tongue just now, as you can tell. Anyway, Return to Ghost Camp. What is this book about? So, you have a guy that's going to camp like a week before his brother gets to go, his younger brother. And so the younger brother's kind of irritated and mad at him, and the main brother, the main character, doesn't really want to go to camp to begin with. He just doesn't care about this, doesn't want to go to this place. And when he gets there, well, it's not even when he gets there, when he's on the school bus, before he gets there, he meets this guy named Ari, and Ari's name is spelled A-R-I, so I may or may not be pronouncing that correctly. I'm assuming it is Ari. Ari's kind of a practical joker and a prankster and whatnot, so he wants to change names with our main character, just so that he can kind of mess with the counselors and mess with the other campers and stuff. And essentially, when this happens, they get to the actual camp, they find out from the campers and camp counselors and whatnot that essentially Ari, which is our main character, pretending to be Ari, is supposed to have this really cool bunk that's very clean, very well taken care of, hasn't aged horribly and everything else, whereas the real Ari gets to go to a horrible bunk that's eaten up with bugs and mosquitoes and everything else. His mattress on his inside of his bunk on his actual bed is completely infested with like bed bugs and everything else. It's not very healthy. I don't know how they got past health inspection for this camp. Whatever, though. It's a Goosebumps book. Nobody cares. Even the world doesn't care in Goosebumps. And the thing with this book, it's real slow. Like, the first two acts of this book are real slow. Mainly the first act, but this switching identities thing, I thought something could be done with that. And they kind of do something with that. R.L. Stine kind of pulls off something kind of cool with that, because the third act is great. The finale of this book is really intense. It's really fun to read, but it took so long to get there. I mean, it's your basic size Goosebumps book. It's like 112 pages long or whatever. So it's not longer or shorter usually than most Goosebumps books out there. But for some reason, this one just doesn't flow as well. It just kind of meanders around. Everybody's just kind of meandering around doing nothing, kind of thinking about what they want to do. You know, our main character's talking about how he wishes he would switch back with Ari and actually be himself, and Ari can be Ari, you know? Because other campers are acting weird towards our main character since they think his name is Ari. For some reason, Ari is supposed to be targeted by these folks. I mean, he's treated so special and everything else, and our main character pretending to be Ari is feeling a little weirded out by that. And Ari, when he talks to Ari, our main character talks to Ari doesn't know what's up with that either. He didn't know any of these kids, doesn't know why they're like wanting to be so friendly with him and give him like free snacks and free food and stuff. And then the camper starts saying something really weird. They start saying like, hey, you know what you gotta do, right? And our main character that's pretending to be Ari, even though when he talks to Ari, Ari doesn't know anything about it either, they're both kind of like, no, I don't know what I need to do. What are you talking about? And the kids just kind of either drop the conversation or kind of push you into a conversation about the whole thing, about what they actually mean by that. Now on the side, why is this called Ghost Camp? There may or may not be ghosts in this, but there's mainly a myth in this book that may or may not, and I don't think by the description from the book itself, it may or may not be this picture of this terrifying entity, ghost, spirit, demon, whatever this thing is supposed to be. This is such a creepy Goosebumps cover. It's like a smoke monster. I thought this would be that monster it's talking about in the book. The monster in the book is called the Snatcher, and it's basically like a fox spirit out in the wilderness, like the woods and stuff, that kidnaps kids when they run out in the woods by themselves. Mainly one a year. Every single year a kid has went missing at this camp. So I thought maybe we were going to get something really, really scary based around that. And it really doesn't do too much with that. A lot of the story is focused around the identity thing, and it kind of involves the Snatcher legend, myth, urban legend, whatever you want to call it. Now, why did they call this Ghost Camp, like Return to Ghost Camp? Why did they even call it that? Well, throughout the book, there's references to deep, deep in the woods, like the first camp story that Uncle Marv told in the first book. The one that I thought was so scary about the kids being led by their counselor deep, deep into the woods. That's the phrasing we keep using in this book, deep, deep into the woods. That's like the only reference to the original book. There is no reference to other characters. There is no reference to cameo pop-ups of other characters, anything like that. So it's kind of unnecessary to even call this Ghost Camp once again. It's kind of one of those things like Night of the Living Dummy. Like, there's no reason to call this, well, I guess with the Dummy books, it's Slappy typically all the time, so it does matter there. But with this, it's just another camp book as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't really have any ties to Ghost Camp. Honestly, if you're like myself and you love or just merely enjoyed the first Ghost Camp, I wouldn't go into this thinking about it being a sequel or anything. Even the names of the camps are similar, but not the same thing. In the first book, it was called Camp Spirit Moon, I believe. In this book, it's called Camp Full Moon. So I was like, okay, well, are they going to do like a Friday the 13th Jason Voorhees type thing? Like, oh, it's actually Camp Spirit Moon, like they didn't do that either. Like, it was a weird way of approaching a sequel, and not in the weird way Goosebumps typically does, because Goosebumps sequels typically are, Night of the Living Dummy 1 happens, or like 2 or 3 or whatever book, and Slappy gets killed and destroyed. Then the next book, we don't find out how he came back. He just came back. Doesn't matter. Who cares? We enjoy it. It's fun. Kids enjoy it. Adults enjoy it. People who grew up on the old books love and enjoy it. We don't care. It doesn't matter to people like myself. And frankly, it's kind of unique compared to how most sequels of anything out there, movies, books, any of that, want to explain everything in detail, endlessly, and I don't care a lot of the time. So Stein gets me in that way. But with this book in particular, it doesn't need to be a sequel. Imagine having... What's a well-known? Imagine having, like, The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. I think that's the one Goosebumps book. Anyway, one of the Mummy books. Imagine having one of the Mummy books and then having Why I'm Afraid of Bees as the sequel, but it's, like, titled and listed as a Mummy book, or, like, taking place in Egypt or anything like that. But it has nothing to do with each other. Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Don't waste your time with books like that are gonna lie to you in the title alone, This is kind of insulting, frankly, to myself as a big Ghost Camp, I can't get the name out, fan, because the first book is excellent. And then you get this bland, okay, good in its ending, good in its finale type of book. Again, the third act is good. I enjoyed it a lot. The rest of the book really is slow, and much, much slower than the first Ghost Camp book. So, again, why call this Ghost Camp? It's really annoying to me. It's kind of one of those obnoxious things, about sometimes when children's books get sequels and stuff. But I don't think I have anything else to say about this book as far as I can think of off the top of my head. Anyway, when it comes to Goosebumps Series 2000, number 19, Return to Ghost Camp, do I recommend it? If you haven't read Goosebumps before, this might be a good place to try out, to start at. You don't have to read the first book at all to understand what's happening here in any way, fashion, or form. The thing is this book bad? That's the big thing I think should be the important question here. Even though it's not a good Ghost Camp sequel, is it bad? No, absolutely not. It's not bad at all, and I'm sorry if I came across like that. The thing with this book is that it's just fine. It's as fine can be. You know what I mean? Nothing really super surprising. Kind of a cool ending, a cool finale showdown type of thing. I enjoyed a lot of that third act. The first two acts are just really slow, and even like the identity thing didn't really impress me all that much. It was different for Goosebumps. I've never seen that done in Goosebumps before, about two characters changing identities, or switching identities, whatever you want to call that. So it was interesting. I like certain things like that in this book, but it definitely ain't great, and I definitely struggle to call it good because I'm so insulted over the Ghost Camp title thing. Anyway, if I had to rate this book on a 5-star basis, I think, honestly, if I'm being honest with you and being honest about how much I enjoyed this, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. It's decent, it's fine, it's fun towards the end, but it's not a Ghost Camp book. It doesn't even feel like the first Ghost Camp book. The first Ghost Camp book is very atmospheric, it's very eerie, very, to me, scary. I genuinely think that first Ghost Camp book scared me so bad. And I read most of it in daylight, so that's kind of speaking volumes about how much of a classic that is as a Goosebumps book, as a horror story, or anything. This book is just okay in every way. You know, it is what it is. Have you guys read Return to Ghost Camp? What did you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this book. Are you irritated too over it not being a direct Ghost Camp sequel and really not needing to even exist, honestly, even though it was fine, if you feel it that way? This is one of those interesting Goosebumps books, and I would love to hear more people's thoughts about, because of how utterly fascinated I am behind the marketing scam attitude over this book, over calling it Ghost Camp, when Ghost Camp wasn't even that popular as a book. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking here. I don't know if it was a Stein thing, or a Scholastic thing, or a Parachute Press thing. I don't know who it was, but that was a dumb idea, and it kind of ruined the story a little bit for me, because I'm reading the book and kind of bored through the first 2 acts of the book, and thinking to myself, you know, when is this going to start picking up? This is really slow. And then I kind of expected, oh, maybe it'll be Stein's big finale, shocking type of thing. And it really wasn't, you know, so I don't know. What did you guys think about Return to Ghost Camp? Again, put your thoughts and comments down below. Thank you for watching once again, guys. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.